This is Wildcat Country.
Larson tipped it. Love has it. Lewis slams it, and Arizona wins it.
The inside scoop on the Arizona Wildcats.
It's Gunnar Maldonado. He's got blockers. Touchdown, Arizona.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to bear down.
Welcome to another edition of Wildcat Country presented by Harrah's Auction Casino. Eric Cohen and Shane Dale, the doldrums of summer. Listen, the topics aren't as easy as they have been in recent years. Listen, we don't have, realignment is not in play here. Yeah. We don't have, coaching changes at the moment.
But coach could get fired for us or something. We'd really appreciate it. But we got NBA, some NBA Summer League we could talk about, like with Caleb Love and Carter Bryant. We just had 9 Arizona baseball players drafted, which is awesome. I guess Arizona, I don't know if you saw this, was along with Michigan and North Carolina, what they call the Caleb Love trifecta. They were the only programs to have an NFL, NBA, and MLB first-round draft pick.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. So we're not a football school or a basketball school. We're just an athletics school. Of course, football, you take that with a grain of salt, but still.
Yeah, I don't know if there'll be a first-round pick in football anytime soon. But hey,
might not be.
2 straight years. Can't really argue with that. So we have a great show for you. We'll do buy or sell. Shane and I had a chance to sit down with women's basketball coach Becky Burke late last week, and she will join us. Great stuff in that interview, and then we'll talk a little bit more in the final segment. But Shane, let's get right to it. It is buy or sell, and number one. All right, now that we're closer to the season, it's time to admit that Brent Brennan deserves a complete mulligan for the 2024 season. Buy or sell?
Complete one, I will sell. I don't think he deserves a complete one, and I don't think he would say he does either. I think we learned, or were at least reminded, that convincing players to stay is only half the battle, if that. You have to get them to buy in. You have to get them. You can't have a team when half the players on the roster are already thinking about where they're going to be playing next season before the current season even begins. And I think we've got enough feedback to suggest that's more or less what happened last year. And the guys have to fit within your system. College athletes, as much as we don't like it, they don't come to play for a university typically, at least not at first. They come to play for a coach or a series of coaches. And, I'm not right often, so I feel compelled to point out when I am. I said before last season that I wondered if Brent Brennan would be a victim of his own success, as in succeeding in convincing so many big names to stay, and then the results aren't there on the field, because it's going to make it look that much worse if they aren't. And that's exactly what happened. So I'll give him a partial mulligan. Where I think he really made mistakes, and again, I think he'd own up to this as well, is with certain members of his coaching staff, which he's worked to correct going into this season. And he may need to make additional corrections going forward. We'll have to wait and see. But I think he's off to a good start there. So no, I don't think he deserves a complete pass for last season, because I think they fell short of expectations, even ones that probably should have been lowered in hindsight, including myself. But I will credit him for the adjustments he's made in the offseason for sure.
Yeah, I mean, this is not a complete mulligan situation. This is an easy sell here. He took a talented roster last year. I had the wrong coaching staff, let's say, and it just wasn't good. And he deserves a partial mulligan. But you know what? He's got to show me something this year. And I know their schedule is more difficult in certain ways based on preseason expectations, which, as we all know, it's kind of a funny thing. We never know how that's going to play out, as we saw last year in the Big 12. With that said, got to make a bowl game. I'm going to say it. I've said it 100 times, and I'm going to say it 100 more times. Got to make a bowl game. There's no excuse with this roster. It's not perfect. You got to make a bowl game.
I think Arizona's biggest challenge over the last couple of decades, and it's even become even more of a challenge now with NIL and the transfer portal, is depth. And Arizona was finally getting that with Jed Fish. It was a big advantage to them late in games. They'd be able, especially like on the defensive line, they'd be able to rotate guys in and out of there in the fourth quarter and while the other team was sucking wind, and Arizona was able to finish strong. And like UCLA, Oregon State, you saw they just had more stamina collectively going into games. And Arizona was getting good, two deep, three deep at positions, and that was hard to replicate. It was hard for Jed's predecessors to do. Rich Rodriguez had struggled with that. Mike Stoops did, and Brent Brennan's kind of starting over in that regard. So it's not enough just to get guys who can start. You got to get guys who can rotate in and out, who can step up their injuries. And Arizona's been a program that just hasn't been able to afford many injuries over the years, and that was another issue last year.
Number two, Shane, Arizona's biggest problem this season likely isn't going to be the offensive line or the offense in general. The defense was atrocious last year and probably not going to be much better in 2025. Buy or sell?
Yeah, I'll reluctantly buy that. I think Arizona's more likely to look like a more traditional Big 12 team this season. I think they'll score 30 plus points in at least half of their games. I'm confident enough to think that they will improve a decent amount on offense, but they're probably going to give up more points than that in most of their games. I think Danny Gonzalez, who we had on our show a couple months ago, I think he's a very good defensive coordinator. I think he did a decent job up the road in Tempe when he was there. And Joe Salovey has already proven he can recruit at Arizona. We've already seen it. But I think you're going to see more transfers make an impact on the offensive side of the ball than on defense this season. And we probably aren't going to see much of an improvement on defense until at least 2026, unfortunately. I hope I'm wrong on that. I hope they're ahead of schedule. But I think defense is going to be more of that trust the process situation. So if Arizona's going to get to a bowl game this season, which again, you've already said, I know that's your minimum expectation, and maybe it should be. I think it's going to come down to winning a lot of 45-42 kinds of games. That's what it's going to take, because I think how they're going to have to get it done, because I think that the coaching staff is very in place. They have now, even without Dwayne Aquina, is pretty good. It's just if you don't have the guys on the field, you don't have the guys on the field, and I think they're at least a year or two away from that.
Yeah, I probably would agree with you. An interesting stat here that when they played against bad offenses last year, the defense only gave up 15 and a half points a game and 5 yards per play. But against top 60 offenses, they gave up nearly 40 points a game and 7 yards per play. The Big 12 is going to have some dynamic offenses. Danny Gonzalez is going to have to work his magic.
Yeah.
If he doesn't, this coaching staff may not survive. I mean, honestly, it might be. It's true, Shane. Like if they go 4-8, I mean, your alternative is get somebody else in that sells a new vision, or have a really empty 2026 in the stands.
Well, I know you're sick. Well, you're going to have to empty 2025, I think. But I know you're sick of hearing this. But I think that, again, for those who haven't been listening, Eric and I differ in our expectations for the team a little bit. Eric is bowl game or bust. I am, yes, that would be nice, but I just want to see improvement. I want to see things start to come together so you can see them starting to turn a corner. Kind of like with Mike Stoops in 06, 07, you could see it coming. If they go 4-8, but they lose a lot of close games, they go into Ames, they lose by a touchdown. They go even into Tempe. I know we don't like to lose to them ever, but ASU is very good, whether we like it or not. If Arizona plays them competitively there, I think that's a step in the right direction. And you also have to consider Danny Gonzalez wasn't the defensive coordinator last year. He is now. And Dwayne Aquina is gone. They lost him kind of late in the process after the season. So I think that, again, as long as we're seeing progress, I think you keep the staff together, because I think that expectations have been reset. And look, if they're as bad as they were last year, then you're probably talking about more than just Danny Gonzalez being gone, okay? But I think if we see some steps in the right direction, you got some good recruiting classes coming in, and they got a ways to go in that regard, but they're off to a good start. Then I think you just have to stay the course and avoid starting all over again.
I'm telling you what, Shane, at some point you have to find a way to sell tickets here.
Yeah.
And you have to bring in, and I'm telling you I mean, honestly, if Arizona's offense is great this year, but the defense is horrific, hypothetically, and you're going to make a change, give Seth Doege the reins. I mean, it's very early to say that.
It is very early to say that.
Very early to say that, but in a hypothetical, it's a very easy, hey, you give Seth Doege the reins, you give him a 3-4 year deal and say, all right, here's your chance to lead a program. We know you have the offense figured out. Go figure out the defense. You can fire up the fan base. I'm not saying I want this to happen, but
How about let him play a couple games first, and then maybe we'll go down that route.
All
But
right, but here's the other thing. So, number three, Shane, Arizona has an NIL problem, and I'm not sure, what the fix is, but not necessarily a buy or sell. Give me one solution that you would have to this NIL problem.
you're not going to like it, and the listeners probably won't either. But it comes down to one word: win. And I know that's sort of a chicken or the egg situation. You need NIL money to win, but you got to win in order to get NIL money. I mean, Arizona basketball, it doesn't sound like they have that problem, but it's because not only are they a winning team, but probably more importantly, their brand is one of the strongest in all of college basketball. Not so with the football program. So I know it's kind of like you need experience to get hired for a job. You can't get a job without experience, but it's just the reality of the situation. I mean, at the very least, until Brent Brennan can show on the field that the program is turning or is about to turn a corner and convince donors of that, there's just not much I don't think you can do. Desiree's a marketing wizard, and I'm sure she and others she trusts are working hard on that end behind the scenes. But until potential donors know that Brent Brennan is going to be the guy, I don't think things are going to change much.
For me, this is usually against my philosophy, but at some point, if you need more money, you got to let the inmates run the asylum a bit. Going to the donors and saying, "What's it going to take? What do you need to see? What do you want? How can I get you to give us 2 million next year, every year?" I mean, these guys have enough money, and I assume it's a write-off for a lot of these guys. So it's like, what's it going to take for you to give us this money to, make your alma mater better? Do you want a building? Do you want to pick the coat? Like, what do you want? Something. If you're gonna do this, you gotta do it, Shane.
You know, we've been doing this show since we relaunched it for almost 5 years now. And one person or kind of person we've never had on is a donor, is a booster, someone who's. It would be interesting to get their perspective, and who knows if they're going to be completely transparent with us, but just to see what was it, because I think it really comes down to as simple as winning. Because when you win, your branding improves, and yeah, Arizona football just, despite, Keanu Reeves shout out in Speed was over 30 years ago. You got you got to win consistently. And Arizona's had its moments, but I think again, when you think college football in the state of Arizona, you probably think of the school up north first, unfortunately. And until you win consistently, that's not going to change. And that disparity, you know, just 12 months after Arizona won 10 games, that disparity is as big as it's ever been, because ASU's on the rise, and U of A is on decline, at least as of last year.
That 2023 season certainly looks like a fluke. Nationally, as far as Arizona goes, like, looks like it was just a strange pop out of nowhere and
Yeah.
never going to happen anytime soon. Sad as it is to say, it's probably true.
Well, it just goes to show that it's tough for a program like Arizona to keep a head coach that is that successful. I mean, it's a good problem to have, but then it really becomes a problem. I mean, the last time an Arizona head football coach left for another program was back in 1986. So that shows you that when Arizona does well, they're gonna get other people are going to get interested. And it's just it's kind of the same thing with NIL. A player can prove himself at Arizona, then he'll probably get offered more money somewhere else. And it's been the same with the coaching situation a lot longer than that.
Let's do one quick basketball question here. Buy or sell, Shane? Caleb Love will be on the opening night roster for the Portland Trail Blazers or any other NBA team for that matter. Buy or sell?
Yeah, I'll be optimistic and I'll buy it. There was a good write up by the site Rip City Project, Blazers blog, that said Caleb Love is the offseason steal that nobody's talking about. I don't know if that's going a bit too far, but he's older and more mature than most rookies. It's one of the reasons why I'm sure he wasn't drafted. He's already 23 years old, but he's got that experience. He's not afraid to have the ball late in situations. He's become a good defender. I think that's the thing he improved upon the most when in Arizona. He shot well in a couple summer league games for Portland so far, and the Blazers don't have a ton of depth at guard. So I don't know if he's going to have a TJ McConnell successful kind of career like McConnell's carved out for himself, but I think he'll find a way on the Blazers roster. I do.
Caleb Love is an NBA player. I have no doubt about that. This is an easy buy for me as far as I'm concerned. I won't waste your time by explaining it more. This guy's an NBA player, and he will have a better NBA career than Alonzo Trier did, whatever that was. Okay,
Fair enough.
fair enough. Why wait for rewards, Wildcat fans at Harrah's Auction Casino? Your play today means free play tomorrow. Sign up for Caesar's Rewards, play your favorite slots, and unlock up to $25 in next day free slot play. Plus, your rewards go beyond the casino. Enjoy dining, entertainment, hotel stays, and more at 50 plus destinations nationwide. Bear down, play today, get rewarded tomorrow only at Harrah's Auction Casino. Must be 21 or older to gamble. Know when to stop before you start. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700 or 1-800-NEXT-STEP. Visit the Caesars Rewards Center for details. Always glad to have Harrah's Auction as the primary sponsor of this program. And coming up next on Wildcat Country, it's Becky Burke. Shane, the July of excellent guests continues with the new coach of the women's basketball team, Becky Burke, joining us here on Wildcat Country. Coach, you came in April. You had literally nobody on the roster. I've never seen anything like it in college sports, and yet you managed to fill a really good roster within about a month. How did you do it?
Yeah, a lot of recruiting visits, a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of help from the people around me, and it was a team effort, but coming in, that was the number one priority is like, we need to get players and not just players to fill uniforms, but players that can compete in the Big 12 conference. And so we feel like we did a good job doing that. And, now here we sit, 3 weeks into summer practice. We feel good about the players that we were able to get here, but it's all about the continuity and team chemistry. And like these players have never seen each other before, never met each other. Some of them are freshmen, some of them are sixth year seniors. We've just got the biggest mix of people that we need to bring together and start playing good basketball in a hurry. So it was hard. It was challenging. It's something that I walked into a similar situation when I was the head coach at Buffalo. Walking into, I think I had 2 players on the roster, so nothing I haven't navigated before. But this day and age of portal, NIL, what you deal with, from a rev share standpoint, NIL standpoint at this level is a little bit different. So it was quite the challenge. But like I said, we've got a phenomenal staff who really helped me tackle this thing from day one and make it into what it is today.
Yeah, Coach, thanks so much for taking time to join us. Like Eric alluded to, I was going to say you hit the ground running, but I think you more like you hit it like the Flash. I mean, I know you haven't really had much time for yourself, but I was going to ask this toward the end. But have you had a chance to experience Tucson at all since you've been in Arizona?
The good part about hosting like 20 visits when I got here, official visits with Portal kids, was that while we were showing them Tucson, I got to see Tucson myself.
Right.
While we were like eating at different restaurants with our players and our recruits, I was being able to go kind of eat at some of those different restaurants. So I think I've seen a lot through recruiting, but like leisurely with the family, just getting out and seeing the sights and sounds, we have not had time to do that yet. So I find that comes like more towards year 2, where we're able to finally breathe and get to go relax and spend some time in the city. But from what I've seen so far through recruiting and just being out and about at some of the events that I've been to, it's absolutely phenomenal. This is an incredible place to live, and I've been telling everybody that it's so welcoming. The people, everything there is to do here. I mean, it's just been everything that I hoped it would be from a life outside of work standpoint.
And it really is a college town, like the university, like the city revolves around the university.
Yes.
So just what's your message to Wildcat fans heading into this season? I know you brought a lot of talented players in. Obviously, it takes time to gel and really become a team. What should they expect from this team in your first year in Tucson?
Yeah, I think to expect a team that's going to play really, really hard, a team that's going to go out every single night and give 100%. And what the thing they're going to love is and respect is that our team is always going to look extremely prepared. We're going to look highly competitive. From a preparation standpoint, from an effort standpoint, nobody will play harder than we will, and we just hope, we hope that at the end of the day, our preparation, how hard we play, the players that we've brought here from a talent and skill standpoint is going to be enough to gather quite a few wins this year, not only in the non-conference, but in the Big 12. So when you come and you watch us play, you want to walk through those doors and see a team that plays extremely hard. You want to see a team that's diving on the floor and a team that's playing fast paced, defending, running their sets well, doing all the things that we're going to do. So, I want every fan that walks through those doors after 40 minutes to walk out saying, I want to come back to another basketball game here. And I want them to feel like they've got some investment in our players, because they've gotten to know them and some of the things that we do from a promotional standpoint, and some of our players being out in the community and staying after the games and getting to know our fans. Like, I think that's going to be something that we're really, really proud of this year, and really going to dive into as well, because we want that investment. You're going to come to a game if you feel a connection with a couple of our players, and if you feel a connection with our staff, with me, and we definitely, definitely want that.
That's really cool. And I'll tell you, Shane and I we're at one of those Wildcat tailgate rallies, or what do you call it? And Julie Haregrove and Michelle Marciniak were there. How did you end up with both of them? I mean, Michelle's a legend, obviously, college basketball legend. And then Julie, obviously, is an Arizona legend, but has some important roots to Tucson.
Yeah, those two, I mean, those were no brainers for me. I'm a big believer, like, surrounding myself with people that are a lot smarter than me, that have been doing this a lot longer than I have. There's no ego over here. So, like, whatever's going to make our program better, whatever's going to surround our young women with what they need to be successful. And both Michelle and Julie do that to the highest degree. So, we just talk about all the time with those two, Michelle being a legend and winning a national championship and being coached by Pat Summitt and playing in the WNBA, and Coach Julie, like, coaching in the WNBA for 18 years and coaching Diana Taurasi her whole career. If we want to recruit future WNBA draft picks, you need to surround them with people here at Arizona that are going to help them get there. And what better two people than those two? And for somebody like Julie to sit down and say, I coached in the league for 18 years. This is how you're going to get there, and this is how I'm going to help you. I think is a pretty strong recruiting pitch. Not to mention, she's a phenomenal person. She's an absolute home run of a human being. And same thing with Michelle. So when you just combine their basketball experience with who they are as people, that's somebody I'd want to send my daughter to play for sure.
That is awesome. That's very cool to hear. Before you were hired in the transition, I said to Shane, I said, there's no expectations for the women's basketball team this year. Like, literally, the team has been gutted. If they win a handful of games, we should be excited. But you changed the game. So what are your expectations for year one in Tucson?
I want to compete in the Big 12. I want to obviously go to the Big 12 tournament, make noise in the tournament, and be playing our best basketball when we go. But every single night, like, our team believes that we're going to be a good team. Our team believes that we're going to win a lot of games. Our team believes that we have what it takes to be successful in this league. And nobody is sitting around in our locker room, in our program, in our administration at this university. Nobody's sitting around saying, oh, this year is a wash for women's basketball. We are going to be competitive this year, and we're going to do it in a hurry. And with what I've seen over the last 3 weeks, I can tell you that that's a fact. And, are we going to win a Big 12 championship? I hope we're in a position to compete for one this year. You never know what could happen. But are we going to put ourselves in a position for our future success this year? Absolutely. Are we going to be proud of what we've done and the product that we put on the floor this year? 100%. And there's nobody that's over here, again, I now stress it, saying, like, this is just a year that's just, nobody cares. There's no expectations. If we win a handful of games, it'll be a success. No, every game we walk out there, we want to win. Every game we walk out there, we're going to prepare to win. And every game we walk out there, with what I've seen so far, I think we're going to have a chance to win.
As far as building a consistent winner, coach, you've been to the national championship game as a player. This program did the same a few years ago. And I mean, this program's been great in the past, not consistently great. They were great when I covered the team back in '04 when they were co-Pac-10 champions. They were great a few years ago. What does it take, especially with the transfer portal and NIL having to compete with that? What does it take to build a consistent winner in college basketball?
Yeah, I think consistency is the thing that everybody's seeking to find these days, just with your roster. I mean, there's no consistency with rosters anymore. And as much as you give a kid a great experience, as much as you give a kid, you wrap your arms around them and you love on them for 365 days. If that dollar sign might be a little higher somewhere else, or same thing for us, if it's a little higher here for somebody that we want to bring in, it's unfortunate. But there's so much change and so much unknown with what you get every single year in the off season. So that consistency is what everybody's looking for, but it's about your process, no matter what players you have on your roster. I'm not doing anything different here at Arizona than I did at Buffalo, than I did at USC Upstate, than I did anywhere that I've been. Like, it's about your process. It's about your culture. It's about the level of accountability. It's about how you teach, how you coach, how you mentor. Whatever your roster looks like, it's our job to bring in the best players that we possibly can here. But the reason that we've had success, because I haven't always had the best players. I haven't always had the same roster. I've had turnover, all those things. But our process has never changed. Our level of accountability has never changed. Our standard has never changed. The way that I do things has never changed. And it's not going to change here at Arizona, because I got here for a reason. And to change and go away from everything that I've done on the court would just be silly. So although rosters may change, personnel may change, who you are, the culture you create, the standards you set, the accountability you hold them to should never change. And I'm a firm believer in that.
I got two more questions for you, Coach. I know you're busy, as always, but I've always thought, and please don't take this the wrong way, but I've always thought you got to be at least a little crazy to coach college sports, just because you're always working. When you're not coaching, you're recruiting, and it doesn't seem to leave much time for a personal life. But I know you've got a wife and a young son. Do you have to be intentional in setting aside time for yourself and fitting in that quality time with Savannah and your son Banks, who I think is what, 15, 16 months now?
Yeah, he's 16 months and
Yeah.
he's in the other room. And it's this is the best, most rewarding job in the world. We get to coach basketball, but the time I'm probably spending more time with other people's kids than I am with my own kid, you
Right.
know? So and I'm spending time with my staff, other people's husbands and wives more than I am with mine, you know? And so it's what you sign up for, it's part of the job. But you have to be surrounded with a wife, a spouse, a husband, whoever it is, that's completely selfless and understanding what you do and why you do it, right? And then you hope your kids can run around the gym and get to see you for a couple hours while your team's practicing. But there's been a major shift for me in terms of my priorities and how I spend my time. Any other day, I'm doing this Zoom in my office. I'm probably getting there at 7:30 this morning, and I'm staying till 6 o'clock tonight. You know, today I'm sitting here doing it at my house so I can spend a couple of extra minutes with my son before I hop on here. So it's different and it's challenging, and there is that mom guilt that you get. I think especially being a mom, nothing against dads, but there is that, you are a mom, you want to be with them, you want to care for them, you want to be the caregiver, all those things. So I do battle that, but I'm surrounded by such a great staff, such a great spouse, and obviously Banks is too little to even kind of understand when I'm popping in and out. But I assume when it gets older, it'll be quite the challenge. But this is what we signed up for when we decided to be a college basketball coach, and I don't even think we're college coaches anymore. I think we're professional coaches. I think that's just the nature of what we're doing now. We're coaching. Players that are getting paid and players that are, it's a pro model now. So that's essentially what we're doing.
All right, and I could ask you a bunch of questions about that, but I'll leave you with this one because I know how busy you are and want to get you back to your son. You coined the phrase "bear down, baby," and
Yeah.
that's definitely a more family friendly version than the other variation of "bear down" we know around here. But are we going to see that phrase on some merch soon?
Yeah, we absolutely will. We'll get that out. Just something I've been saying everywhere I've been. Bear down, baby. Like that's what we're here to do, and what we want kind of people to think about when they think about me. But obviously, our team has come up with a slogan for this year too, and it's bear down, sleeves up. Meaning we are going to have to roll our sleeves up and get dirty this year. Like if we want to compete and win games the way that we just talked about, winning games and competing. We're not the biggest, tallest, fastest, most athletic. We're extremely skilled. We're tough as nails. We're all those things. But like, we're not just gonna be able to roll the balls out this year and win. We're gonna have to roll our sleeves up every day, do the little things, get a little bit dirtier than other people. So that's kind of where our catchphrase this year came from. So you'll see that on some merch as well. And I think it'll be really, really fun to get people to rally behind some of those slogans.
All right, two quick ones for you, Coach. In terms of non-conference scheduling, once you get going in future years, what's your philosophy on it? Do you want to schedule really tough games, a bunch of them, like Tommy Lloyd is, or do you prefer just getting more of warm-ups before conference season?
Yeah, I think this year you're going to see more, more tough mid-major schools coming in here. Like we don't know what we have. Like
Right.
we're not going to know till we start playing, right? We see them in practice. Like this is like a brand new team with people that have never even seen each other before, you know? So we took the route of let's build some confidence. Let's get some really quality, good wins with, teams that are going to come in here and challenge us, but not give us anything. And then I think as we go forward, when I hopefully get to the position that Tommy's in, oh, we'll bring anybody in here. We'll go play anybody anywhere. I'm not scared of the smoke. Like I'll do,
Let's
but
go.
I also am smart. I also know my teams. I also I know what we're doing this year and why we're doing it. But in the future, when we bring our recruiting classes in here and we get some of our players in that we've had a chance to recruit and get in here, like we are going to go play anybody anywhere anytime. That's who I am and what I am for sure.
That's awesome. Love to hear it. Last one for you. Give us a couple names of players that we need to keep an eye on for this fall.
Yeah, I think it's been so nice to get our eyes on them these last couple of weeks. And I wish I could give you like two or three that I know like set in stone. I feel like we're really deep. I feel like there's a lot of players that are one day like really making me say wow, and then the next day I'm like, Okay, no, not wow. And it's like, so we're just looking for some consistency with our players right now too. We've also got two players that are still playing with their national teams this summer. So we've got Samaya, who's over with the playing with the Philippine national team. We've got MJ, who's playing with the Spanish national team, U18 over in FIBA. So those are two guards that I think are really going to be able to get it for us. And we haven't even seen them yet. We haven't even got our eyes on them in person yet. So, but along with, the other ones that have been here competing every day, like Mickey Purdue's a dog. She's a stud. Like Lonnie has come with me from Buffalo and is a completely different player. I think she understands what she's walking into in the Big 12 and she's risen to the occasion. Our bigs as a group, a collective whole, it's not going to be one big this year. It's going to be them by committee, and I think they've done a great job. Their versatility, their athleticism, their physicality. So we've got a lot of people that are doing a really good job for us. Tanyelle from Memphis, she's just walks up to the rim the other day and grabs it at 5'10", so just big time athlete. So I'm excited about a lot of them, and I'm excited to just see five that just gel and mesh together so well. It's not always the five best that play. I'm gonna play the five that play the best together, and so it's been interesting to see day by day, practice by practice, how we gel, how we mesh, what lineups are kind of flowing, which ones aren't, those types of things.
At 5'11", I'm not sure I could touch a 7-foot rim, much less a 10-foot one. But hey, good for her. Many props. Yeah. Coach, thank you so much. Great to have you on board at Arizona. Your enthusiasm has been contagious. We love seeing the workout videos and everything on social media. Keep it up, and we look forward to having you on again in the future.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys. Thank you so much.
Discover more Play for All at Harrah's Auction Casino.
Hi folks, here are your drinks.
Where having fun means racking up reward credits with the Caesars Rewards loyalty program that can be redeemed for food, free play, hotel stays, and more. Not only here in the city of Maricopa, but also at more than 50 Caesars properties coast to coast. From Harrah's Las Vegas to Caesars Palace in Atlantic City. What are you waiting for? Play for All at Harrah's Auction Casino, the official sponsor of Play.
Shane, great to catch up with Coach Burke. I like the enthusiasm that she's brought to the program, and she's done a great job. I mean, she had to build a roster from scratch, as we alluded to, and what she's done. I don't know that they're going to be very good, but I think the future is a lot brighter for women's basketball in Tucson than it's been in a couple of years.
Yeah, a couple of thoughts. As we were talking with her, I just couldn't help but think about, we had Adia Barnes on our show several times, and she was always a great chat and was willing to chat with us. And it's kind of unbelievable how just 4 years removed from Arizona coming inches away from winning a national championship, that she's gone and Becky's here. And it's unfortunate the way things ended. I think Becky's great. Her energy is infectious. And as much as I have mixed feelings about the transfer portal being a free for all, I love that someone with the energy of Becky Burke gets rewarded for that. Her and her coaching staff just storming the country. Becky doesn't, I don't think sleeps much at all. Most coaches don't, but she seems like someone who's up at 4 a.m., goes to sleep at midnight maybe, and gets a couple hours of sleep and is back on the road the next day. So, I don't know. We'll have to see. Obviously, we haven't seen him play a game with under Coach Burke yet, but if Arizona isn't successful under her leadership, it won't be for a lack of effort and recruitment. That's for sure. I think she'll do. I think she'll do well.
I think that's a great way to put it. But I think expectations in year one need to be set accordingly, and that is not if Arizona's close to 500.
Yeah,
I think that I know I sound differently when it comes to the football team. Listen, I think a few months ago I was saying I don't know how this team's going to win any game. I think if they go around 15-15 in that ballpark, I wouldn't be upset about that. And we'll do a show in the next few weeks about expectations for teams. I think as far as basketball goes, men's basketball, mine have been revised down without Carter Bryant. So we'll talk about that. What realistically should we expect from Tommy Lloyd this year, and this team that's young, and we'll go from there. Nonetheless, I want to ask one more question as far as something that Deion Sanders brought up at my favorite coach at Big 12 Media Days last week. He's advocating for a salary cap in college football. Do you think that this is a worthy solution, or is it probably destined to fail?
I don't know. I was kind of surprised to hear that come from him, but I like it. I like the idea of it. Yeah, I mean, yeah, there needs to be some limit, and that's what the House settlement kind of sort of aims to do. I guess the question is, and correct me if I just missed this, but I'm not clear on what he was suggesting, whether we need a cap on the amount of NIL money a student athlete can make, period, or just the amount that can come from a school that a school can essentially offer.
Well, I think in general, Shane, and I think that's where the problem lies here. So if there's rumors that Texas has like a 30 or $40 million roster this year, and you and I talked to Coach Brennan about that in person in May up in Scottsdale. Arizona's is probably 5 million, 10 million at most. It probably actually not 10 million. They're probably closer to five, if not lower than that. How do we put it and say, all right, you have a $20 million, salary cap? The problem is, how do you enforce that? College football has always had a problem with boosters.
Yeah.
How do you enforce that guys aren't getting paid under the table? So to me, the salary cap is just not it's not a thing because you're never going to be able to properly enforce it. You might as well just say do what you want. And at that point, you have to group teams in certain categories. And honestly, Arizona, until they get a big name booster, if that ever happens, is never going to be in the top category or even close.
Yeah, well, the inevitable conclusion of this was that we're going to get richer, and I mean, you're I think in a situation now, like I mentioned last week, where some schools are kind of going to become feeder schools for others. If take Arizona for example, if let's say that Arizona has one of their new wide receivers has a breakout season, has 1,000-yard season, what are the odds he's going to be back next year? Because he's going to. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Just seeing a guy like Tedero McMillan, who came in as a 5-star in year one and stayed through year three.
Yeah.
At Arizona, it's going to be almost impossible to do. The next T-Mac, whenever that is, if there is one, is never going to stay.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I think I've said this before too. I think in an ideal world, if we're just looking at the spirit of NIL, and let's remember that NIL stands for name, image, and likeness. It's not supposed to be a money train. It basically, the Supreme Court ruling was intended to allow student athletes to make money off exactly that. Like when Sam Thomas, who's been on our show a bunch, a great women's basketball player at Arizona, she started her own clothing line with her own branding. That's the spirit of NIL, is being allowed to do that. Or when a college basketball player gets money to endorse a local restaurant or car dealership. But what we have now is the exact thing that, like you said, it's been going on under the table for decades, just fully legalized by stretching the letter of the law, which essentially allows schools to pay players directly. And that's never what the NIL ruling was intended to do. But I guarantee you that the minute that ruling came down, collectives were being made. And I'm sure plans are put in place already. But you know what? Here's the thing, too. As long as TV ratings are up, merchandise sales are strong, ticket sales are up, nothing's going to change. As long as fans keep going to games and the ratings are still very strong in college football and college basketball, then there's no incentive to change anything.
Sadly, you're right. The college football that we grew up with and had even until 5 years ago is dead. It's gone.
Yep.
The college football that we knew, it's never going to be the same. And it's going to be hard for Arizona to have, it's like our Pac-12, our Pac-10. Days of USC and Oregon coming to Arizona Stadium. There's nobody on, Arizona's schedule this year that can compare to that in terms of, regardless of record, in terms of prestige.
Yeah.
Oregon, UCLA, Washington, USC. We don't have anybody like that. There's nobody even close in the Big 12.
Yeah.
And so the days that we had, and don't get me wrong, I savored those and I appreciated going to plenty of those games. I'm sad that we won't see those anymore because those were great.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think it's also like, and we talk about and we bemoan the new NIL transfer portal landscape. And yes, I don't care for it overall, but are we watching any less games? Are we talking about it any less? No, you don't switch. It's all based on emotion, right? We're doing this because we love it, because we have an emotional investment, and you can't just shut that off like a faucet.
No.
And that's why ratings are still as strong as they are, and merchandise sales are still strong, and ticket sales, not necessarily Arizona football, but in general are still very strong. And again, people vote with their pocketbooks, and until that changes, the college landscape doesn't have any incentive to change either.
I will say this, playoffs aside, a regular season matchup between number 1 and number 2 in college football trumps anything the NFL can offer us before the divisional round.
I agree. 100%. I agree.
It
And
just
I think there's more raw emotion in college football. I still remember after Michigan State, remember that botch punt, Michigan State,
Yeah.
and Michigan State returned it for a touchdown, and Sean McDonough's voice cracked and everything. I remember Le'Veon Bell, who's a Michigan State alum, posted this video that went viral, like where he was just going crazy, like, and his voice gets really high, and it's like, once you play it, like you're an alum for life, which is kind of one thing that we're missing too now with guys transferring 3 or 4 times. But when guys play at a school for 3 or 4 years, it's like they're emotionally invested for the rest of their lives, and that's how it is for us fans as well. Like once you make that investment, you don't shut it off. And so as long as that's alive and well, then unfortunately so will all the junk that comes with it.
We kind of took a tangent from the actual question, but hey, that's what Wildcat Country is.
do.
Thanks to Coach Becky Burke for joining us. It's the middle of summer. It's always tricky, but some more great guests on the way. I think Phil Steele's going to join us in a few weeks, so looking forward to talking some Arizona football with him. At some point, we'll do some rankings, some predictions, and then before you know it, it's week 1 against Hawaii. It's getting closer. Get ready. For Shane Dale, I'm Eric Cohen. Thanks for listening. And as always, bear down.